So I am creating this for documentation and for future reference or anyone who just happens to be following along as I've been trying to create this thing. Because the entire goal was to kind of like lower the cost of context and inference the more you use the model, because there's so much data and information that just gets keep adding and adding and adding. So this is more of a 2D grid, so it's simplified, so it's easier to understand in my opinion. I'm a visual person, so like me just like trying to explain it out in words, sometimes I get lost, but visually it's easier to conceptualize basically. So these little crystallization points on the grid are basically the context conversations that happen with your AI model, and they're basically like doors basically to like the different universes or conversations you have, if that makes sense. And these coordinates are basically like uh what's the word, they're identifiers for the AI to travel across your many different conversations that interconnect and information about whatever you do. So this can include you asking about the weather. This one could be asking about a sports team. This could be asking about where to eat. This could be a research thing. Like these are multiple conversations that can possibly interconnect for your AI to travel across and get information about you to further help you better. And these are put in compartments and locked by these coordinate keys. So they don't have to interpret entire conversations. So like if you get into a chat with an AI model and it ends up being 1,000 words, the AI doesn't no longer have to read 1,000 words. Everything is put in a compartment and locked behind a door with keys with these identifiers, and they take the most important relevant information out of there and they put it on the map, but it doesn't crystallize right away. So these outer areas are basically where the pink is where you're basically get is gathering information on you. Not information on you, but it's plotting information on you of tasks it's done for you, things that are relevant, and it doesn't become crystallized until it's traveled throughout the entire grid to what's the word, validate. It doesn't crystallize until it travels across many other connections to validate that this conversation holds some truth, because every pathway gets scored basically with the AI, and every pathway doesn't have the same score, so that's why everything won't connect initially. So in my system there's a decay component. So everything, it doesn't matter the positioning obviously, but over time, if this doesn't meet more connections, it just disappears. Basically, does it work? I think my button's not working. Hold on. I guess it only happens with the. I guess it was working before. Oh yeah, there it is. It's gone. You can delete old conversations, but the point will still be there. But because there's a decay mechanism, it kind of just disappears because there's no validating truths to it. It's not it doesn't have any value. So think about it like an organism. These are all your internal things that are working together. These red lines are outside sources of information trying to come into the system to be of value. But if they don't make connections to be of value, it basically gets purged. It doesn't get digested, basically. And what happens is over time, more connections keep, like, this is like me moving this range is like the connections happening, like the AI thinking. So these are all, this can happen in one instance of him just trying of what a him, I'm saying him like the AI is a gender. Like the model trying to make connections to further help you with whatever task it wants to do for you. So like a previously traveled pathway is just, it remember. So like let me go back. So like this, say your conversation starts here and then it travels. It's like, I remember, 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 I remember. So every time, people don't understand, every time a context window starts up or a new conversation starts with the AI, this is basically kind of what it looks like. It knows nothing about you. So therefore it has to generate tokens and gather information on whether you tell it to search the web, or it basically draws information from its own data bank, and it just eats up tokens, and then it just disappears. It has no relative pathway to follow for for recurrent information. Basically, it just blots into existence and just dies away. So what I did was created this grid, and I figured, since I'm going to add all these different tools, there needs to be something that makes it safe, right? If there's outside sources, this can eventually get corrupted, right? Because all these pathways start happening, and I add more crystals. Hold on, let me go back so it's clear. I can add different outside sources. It doesn't matter if it's on the boundary, because a conversation could be happening on an old context window, and it's gathering outside sources, trying to make connections. But none of these are crystallized. It's not trustworthy. But imagine all these start happening, right? All these outside sources, and then these, I have certain measures that go off basically. So like, imagine this is an organism. These blue lines are it's breathing basically. Like everything that's happening internally, it's natural processes. Like it feeds off that. The outside pink stuff, it trying to figure out if it's good or not with these different connections. So it's almost like trying to eat basically. As it's trying to eat, gathering all these different information or nutrients or whatever the case is, all these things are not crystallized. So I have things in place that triggers the security system as this is happening. So if too many outside sources are start corrupting the grid, these these identifiers for security starts going off. And so what happens is, when all three go off, quorum census happens, like with the mycelium mushroom. It reorganizes itself. So the grid is not stagnant. And you see how all the red stuff is all gone, the outside information, the stuff it was trying to eat, it crystallizes into something else completely. So if there's a attack vector from an outside source, as soon as all three identifiers go off, it naturally cleans itself. Basically, it's kind of insane. Where's my reset button? The one thing I did notice, which is kind of crazy, I didn't expect to happen, was let me reset. I need more. I need a better grid. Give me a grid. More crystals. Come on. Come on. This is just a demonstration. This is not for like, brother. I was hoping not to edit this. I can't get what I need. Let me just do that instead. I could have just done that from the beginning. What I noticed was, weirdly enough, when I flip this over and I increase the connections activity, circles start to form. And these circles look a lot, overlapping circles look a lot like the flower of life. I don't know if anyone knows anything about that. But once I started noticing, I'm like, what is happening here? Because this system was created from organic design. And if people who do know about the flower of life, you see it in a lot of plant life, flowers, um, honeycombs, like this circular pattern that just keeps overlapping. And it's weird because this is all really a math equation with coordinates, and these are respective to conversations of thought processes, if that makes sense. I'm not gonna dive deep into that in this video, but that's just what the fuck is happening, and I'm like, it's kind of scary. I was like, maybe I should stop, but I think I covered what I wanted to talk about. Essentially, if I don't, I'll just probably just put it in text format. But thanks for who's watching.